So again, thank you for joining today. As I mentioned, those are some of our principles when it comes to designing artificial intelligence product. This can be an interactive demo, so if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. I can see already Anna mentioning that she's having lunch, so welcome, enjoy your lunch. And otherwise, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I'm gonna jump right into it and share my screen. Here we go. This is our website, so Quallie.Ai. If you do have access, you know you can log in through this button, sign in. If you do not have access yet, you can request access and you will receive an invitation to join the platform by clicking on this button here, get access. Once you sign in, this is what the tool looks like. So this is your workspace, which is organized in folders and projects. The way I like to use it is to have a folder for each one of my clients. So here I have Verizon, Elsevier, Billabong, for example. And inside each of my clients, I have the specific project that's been commissioned. Just letting in a few people who are still joining. So if you've only just joined, this is what a Quallie.Ai workspace looks like, organized in folders, each folder for a client, and then projects. You can create a new folder by clicking on the plus button and invite specific team members, or create a new project by clicking here. There are some transcription settings that enable you to boost specific words if you're working with specific brand names, for example, as well as PII reduction. So if your transcript will redact any personal identifiable information. If you want to invite a team member, you click on team members here on the left, and there's more settings inside the workspace setting. I'm going to jump into the Surf Culture IDIs project. So those are in-depth interviews we've conducted with surfers to talk about the sport, the technology involved in the sport, and the cultural elements of surfing. So if you can see here, we have 16 interviews that have been uploaded. To upload an interview, you will click on the button upload, and you'll be invited to add specific files from your device or from one of those integrations. We support video, audio, and text transcripts. We do advise working with video wherever possible because it really brings the proximity to the material and enables you to create video clips as well that you can turn into films and add to your reports. So when I upload an interview, by default, the platform will generate a transcription. So if I'm clicking here, I'm seeing the transcript of an interview with James, which I'm going to play back just to give you a flavor of what it looks like. One of our features is play from anywhere. So wherever you're clicking on the transcript, the video will start from that point.
From Zimbabwe to California, and he kept on telling me, you have to learn how to surf, you got to try it. And then we did a vacation.
So here is James telling us about his beginning as a surfer. The transcripts can be edited by using this button, edit transcript, and it will bring up a transcription confidence table where it tells you if there's any words that are low confidence, right? So if it's blue, it means the tool is pretty confident in the word. If it's yellow, like here, it means that it's a medium confidence and enables you to listen back and play.
Or surfboards.
So here it is a bit muffled, so the platform is not sure what was actually said, but you can edit the specific words individually. You can then exit edit mode. We have a transcription and translation feature. So here I've translated this into French, for instance, and I can see the entire transcript now translated into French. I can choose between among over 50 languages. On the right-hand side, we'll have a summary. The summaries are structured in a way that makes sort of the insight generation process easier. So we first of all identify a theme. For example, theme 3, relationship with surfboards and quiver strategy. Quiver is a word for a collection of surfboards, which I thought was an interesting terminology. And under that theme, I'll have 3 bullet points. And each bullet point is linked to a specific part of the transcript, which I'm going to translate back into English. So we see here number of boards and why multiple boards matter. James keeps a diverse quiver, about 8 or 9 boards, and compares boards to shoes. Different boards are necessary for different conditions, sizes, and wave types. So you can listen back to that specific example. here, for example.
Why do you have so many pairs of shoes? Why don't you just have one pair? It's like, you really need like.
So the summary becomes a really interesting way of navigating your individual transcript. On the left, this is our project menu. So the next item available. There's a question from Anna. Can you change the prompt from the summary, asking to pull out exactly the themes you're interested in rather than overall? So currently, no, we used to have this feature, but we've defaulted back to a general summary because that specific thing can be done in the question grid, which is right here. I'm going to come to it in a second, and we're going to ask for a summary prompted in a specific way. So we'll come to that shortly. In the next tab here on the side called interview tags, this is where I can create specific categories of tags, for example, surf level, and I have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, region of origin, gender, segments, etc. When I'm back into my interview view, I can assign tags to specific speakers, and those will come helpful both for organizing our data as well as for analysis later on. Going in order, well, a couple of things you can do from here. All the transcripts are downloadable. So if you select multiple transcripts, you can download them in Word documents or PDFs. And if you've translated them, you can also download the PDF, the translated version. In the summaries page, this is where I can see all of my summaries side by side. So here I have again James, and that point 3, right, relationship with surfboard. And in a similar way, we've had surfing equipment and gear as a key theme for Jack, surfboard choices and history. And this is where the idea of hyperlinking really shines through, because this enables me to go through those themes and topics and really quickly bring up that specific quotes, right? So he primarily uses an epoxy surfboard while having a history of owning various boards. And I have now that linked straight to the side here.
At the moment, I've got a 6.0, I think, epoxy Almeric, a few years old now. That's don't surf much, so it's.
So we can see how this bullet point was made of 2 excerpts, one at minute 8:46 and another at minute 9:45.
But I would always have lent more towards something a little bit more, a little bit shorter, I guess.
So one of our key principles when working with artificial intelligence and qualitative research analysis is to ensure the proximity with the data. So every single bullet point here is always linked to a video quote. And videos are a very powerful way of communicating insights. So we made it really easy for people to be able to clip a specific video by simply highlighting the text. So as you can see here, I've highlighted this sentence. It brought up a pop-up where I can name this video. So I'm going to call this surfboard selection. I'm going to save it in the main library. So this will automatically generate a video for me, and it will be stored right here in this clip section, which we'll come to in a second. If I do the same for, let's see, Jenny, there's also here a theme around surfboard equipment. See, Jenny details her current setup. She uses a 7.4 epoxy, which again, I can listen back. It's loading. While it's loading, I can already start clipping this specific video.
I have one board, although I've been thinking of getting a second. I served with the 7.4.
So from here, again, if I want to edit this transcript and, for instance, fix this with 7-4, I can do this straight from here. And I'm going to create a clip, save it again in the main library. And the clips name themselves automatically if you don't want to give it a name based on the content. So I'm going to create the clip, which is stored in here in this Jenny's clip section called My Surfboard. When I'm on the source data, I can really easily go to the full interview with this shortcut here, view full interview. And inside the interview, I can see all of my clips from Jenny. And those sentences that have been clipped remain highlighted in the main transcript. Another interesting feature in this summaries view is this sort of 10,000-foot view blue card, which is a summary of all summaries. So what the tool does here, and this applies to question grid as well, so you'll see this as some consistency in the tool. It's summarizing all of the themes across all respondents. So and it also counts them, right? So here it's telling me 5 respondents express concern with that modern surf culture is shifting from love for the ocean towards social media-driven fashion trend and commercialized hipster aesthetic. And here I have all of my evidence for that specific point from David, from James, Tazio, Louis, and Amy, and all of this evidence that can be, again, played back and clipped. So with a similar interface, we have then the question grid. This feature was particularly inspired by the traditional qualitative research analysis grids that were traditionally done in Excel. So this is a place where you, just a little bit like Excel, you can create multiple tabs, and within each tab, ask for specific findings. For example, here I've asked, what does surf culture mean to you? To ask a question, you can type it in here, and automatically it will generate an answer for each participant, right? If you ask the next question, it will go right under it, and you can navigate this as an interlocked grid. And just to give you a sense for it, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and show you all these answers are interlocked, just like an Excel grid. The difference is that those grids are dynamic, so you can obviously ask more questions and get different types of answers, and get those summaries just like we did for the summary page. So here, when we talk about surf culture, we see some themes emerging. For example, performance versus chill spectrum, right? So we have 8 respondents and all the evidence here mentioned on the side. Let's have a look at this one. So one of the key use cases for Quallie is also multi-market and multi-language research. So here, for instance, we have an interview in Italian of somebody talking about the stereotype of the surfer and the lifestyle, which obviously I can play back in original language.
Ciao Simone, benvenuto. Stereotipo che il selfie.
And here, while I'm listening, I can also read a translation right away, right?
Secondo me, tipo, c'è questo stereotipo che il selfie, il ragazzo tipo più, la vita più bella.
And we find ourselves sometimes working with foreign language research and still having to create clips for final presentations, but not speaking the language because potentially the moderator has been offboarded or the language specialist has been offboarded. From here, I can still work with a foreign language and create a video clip, for example, of this specific sentence by clipping in English a video that is actually in Italian. And then I can also go on to generate English subtitles, which I'm going to show you in a second. Let's create this clip. See, now it's highlighted in yellow. It means it's been saved in the platform. I want to try a summary as Anna asked. So I'm going to create a new tab here. I'm going to call this summaries. And I'm going to ask this question, generate a summary for the interview focusing on these points. Surf culture and surf technology, learning how to surf, and traveling to surf. And I'm going to call this specific summaries. Ask the question with this button. And here we have the question being generated. So generate a specific summary for the interview focusing on these points: surf culture, technology, learning how to surf, traveling to surf. Here we have some answers coming through already. And as you can see, they're looking at the evolution of surf culture, surf technology and wave pools, board technology, learning and progression, traveling to surf. And if I want to generate an overview across all respondents, I can do that in the overview card, which is here in blue. And what I can do on top of that is also analyzing the specific question per specific category. So for instance, if I wanted to see how are those summaries different across surf levels, I can do it by clicking on Analyze Category and clicking on Surf Level. So this is probably the most granular way of interacting with the data, where the platform generates an answer for each participant, and each answer card not to be too technical, but each answer card has its own API call. So you're really deploying the sort of max power and capacity of an AI model, specifically on one interview. And then in the overview in blue, it enables you to get those overviews at a high level. So let's have a look here. We can navigate between overviews with these arrows. You can see here. So the first one is a general overview where we're seeing the paradoxes of surf culture, commercialization and media influence, water aggression and localism, shared values and community, surf technology and equipment, learning and progression, surf travel and relocation. So to answer your question, Anna, if you want to, I hope this answers your question. Let me know if that makes sense. With this other arrow, I can see the same sort of summary, but now on a surf level tag basis. So advanced surfers, mention these things, intermediate surfers are here, and beginners are here. And if again, the idea of hyperlinking still persists. So if I click on emotional physical experience, it will bring me to the specific quotes, including here we have a Finnish participant and a Hindi participant talking about that topic. If there's any questions, feel free to put them into chat. Otherwise, I'm going to show you, just going back to the surf culture question. This functionality here at the top is a way to quickly display quotes. So if you wanted to go back to say James's quotes, you could obviously click on each bullet point and then explore the source data panel. But with this button, you transform the entire grid into quotes, right? So if you were sort of in a quote finding quest, you could use this feature to find it. You can download the entire grid as an Excel with this button here, and you can include quotes if you wanted to. And we have a number of filters, filter by tag or filter by specific interviews. We also just released a new feature, which is called sticky filters, which basically enables you, for instance, here in the summaries tab, to apply a specific filter and only see answers for a specific tag, right? So if I wanted just to see summary, ask questions to US participants only, I could apply that specific filter. And in here, I would only read from US participants. So this is quite helpful if you wanted to do a specific segment analysis or market analysis. Moving on to the next two features under analysis. If you recently worked with Qualitative, I'm sure you found yourself in a workshop or with a colleague going, who mentioned that specific thing? I remember somebody talking about that. Who was it? This feature was designed exactly to do that. It's called Who Said X. And here you can ask for mentions of specific things. For instance, who mentioned that surf is male dominated? And this will look through the entirety of your project and look for specific quotes of that specific theme. While this is loading, I want to show you, oh, here we go. We already have it. So the interview, so we have four instances of that. Interview describes surfing as having elements of being male dominated, noticing how men will often drop in on her because they assume she's not capable as a woman. Dropping in is a term for stealing somebody's wave. So and then again, if you click here, we can listen back to that specific quote.
Be a lot of guys trying to drop in on me because they see that I'm a girl and they think that I'm not.
So again, very precise and accurate in sourcing. I'm going to create a clip from this and store it in my clip folder for later. So pretty straightforward here. Let's jump into the next analysis feature, which is the chat. It's the more traditional way, if you're used to ChatGPT or Gemini, to interacting with data, with the difference that it's sort of sandbox around your content exclusively, and every answer is also hyperlinked. There is loads more flexibility here. For instance, you can ask for what are the pain points linked to purchasing a surfboard Give me a long list for now. So I can ask a specific question. As you notice here, I've had several chats, and the chats can are by default private, so other users cannot see what you've asked unless you make them public simply by clicking on the eye icon. In terms of privacy, again, Quallie.Ai is designed as a collaborative tool, so whatever you ask, other users will also be able to see in summaries, questions, grid, etc. So you can collaborate on those things. So pain points linked to purchasing a surfboard, here is a long list. So technical uncertainty, financial performance risk, logistical and social barriers, etc., etc. Here, for instance, I can ask to generate a table where you assign pain points to specific stages of a purchase journey. Use a typical purchase journey framework from awareness to purchase. Here, obviously, you could prompt it to use your own framework, so your own ways of working. Right? But this is just to show you sort of the flexibility of the tool. And as always, so the main difference with using an out-of-the-box chatbot tool is that when we ask these questions, the tool will read across the entirety of your body of evidence from top to bottom every single interview. So it doesn't get anything sort of lost in that analysis. So here we have our table: awareness, consideration, evaluation, and purchase. And again, so if we look at lack of standardization and we look for evidence, we can click on a specific example, right? So it's really a dynamic table that comes to life with videos and examples. And now I can also add a column to pull out differences across EU and US respondents. So the chat is smart enough to be able to identify your participants based on the tags that we created here in interview tags. So you can query the chat to refer to any of those tags straight from here. And you can do it through natural language like I just did. Or if you wanted to be very specific, you can pick specific tags here and go just look at advanced female surfers. And then you would apply that. So here our table is generating again. We have our journey stages. We have our description of the journey stage. So realizing the need for a new board due to skill progression and changing conditions. And then we have pain points. So gear failure, social stigma, the marketing hype. And then EU, stronger emphasis on avoiding mainstream or lacquered imagery. US, driven by aesthetic attraction, while simultaneously worrying about the Cook label. Any questions on chat? Put them into chat, pun intended. I'm gonna move on to the clips section. So as you noticed throughout the demo, I've been highlighting and clipping material, and all of it has been saved into this main library. Here I can obviously create a new section and call it clip export. So from the main library, I can go and select my favorite clips that I want to work with. And I can move them to my clip to export folder, move the clips. And then from here, I can do a number of things. So for instance, I can watch back Andy's his take on his hobbies.
I wouldn't call myself a surfer. Like it's a hobby. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, surfing is a hobby. And if I click on this edit button, I can do a number of things. For instance, trim the video. So we have this built-in trimmer, which enables you to shorten the clip and also see what words are being deleted as you do it. You can edit the subtitles. We generate subtitles by default. You can display them or not. And you can also translate them. Let's translate into Greek. So it's now retranslating the subtitles, and it will by default apply them to Andy's video. So here we have the Greek subtitles, and I can also remove silences that are longer than 2 seconds. So if I wanted to cut this bit here and anonymize and blur the video if you have high privacy requirements. Let me show you how to create a clip. Can you anonymize the video? Any PI content you need to share on the screen. So yeah, let me show you what it looks like. So edit clip, anonymize, blur, and then to apply any of those changes, you need to click apply here. So the current version anonymizes the entire screen, so you will sort of blur out the entire screen. We are working on a feature where you can choose to anonymize just the face or a specific part of the screen. So that's on our roadmap for the near future. While this is anonymizing, I want to show you how to create a reel, so stitching clips together. Here we have Andy with Greek subtitles and blurred.
I wouldn't call myself a surfer, like it's a hobby, it's a lot of fun. But I also play basketball and I'm not a basketball.
Right, so let's select those clips 1, 2, and 3. I can go here to the top, this button, create reel. And I'm gonna call this learning to surf, create reel. So the platform automatically is gonna stitch them together one after another in the order in which you selected them. I can also create a cover slide, which I'm gonna call learning to surf. And I can change the size and the length of the slide. I'm gonna add this slide here. And now I have my clip generated in just a few seconds. Here we go, learning to surf. And it goes straight into Jennifer.
I see a lot of guys trying to drop in on me because
this clip can be downloaded with just a click here. And by default, we download in quite a compressed format that's really easy to plug into a PowerPoint presentation or share with somebody. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into chat. Otherwise, last thing I want to show you is how to organize those clips. You can move them left or right by clicking on the 3 dots right here. Thanks, Lizzie, for joining. Thanks for being here. Great to meet you. If you have any question on the app while you're using it, you can use the support button here in the bottom left, and we'll get back to you typically on the same day. All right, thanks so much for joining. If you are already a user, thank you for using it. If not, if you're interested in a trial, feel free to reach out to us on Quallie.Ai. Does Quallie work with Dutch transcription and videos? Yes, it does. It does. I don't think I have any Dutch material here, but yes. So let me show you the focus group element. And if you have a few minutes, Anne-Marie, I can show you the Dutch transcriptions. I just have to switch project. So for focus groups, I don't have a typical focus group setting. I do have a recording of multiple people talking, in this case in Finnish. So what you would see is here, we identified the speakers, and then you're able to listen back for specific speakers. Again, here we pull the Finnish influencer talking about surfing.
Suomalaiset, mehän ei ole mitään surfi.
And then so you would have the moderator, then you would have Lucas.
Thank you, Samu.
Then you would have speaker 4. And when you do ask a question in the grid, what we do by default is giving an answer for each participant. So for instance, if we do what does surf culture mean to you, here we would go, so Turkish influencer, for example, is a group. So you see the icon as a group. We go, the moderator mentioned this, Mehmet mentioned that. Here it provided loads of quotes. This is also a group with different people. So yeah, it does support focus groups as well. And let me stop sharing for a second and see if I can find any Dutch so you can have a quick look for yourself. Sorry, 1 second. I have to move room. I'll be right back. Okay, apologies for this. Anna-Maria, I'm gonna email you a recording of the video where we've transcribed and analyzed the Dutch recording. So I think I have your email. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. Thank you.